Am I?
What is up, everyone? I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and on behalf of Dave Savage and the entire team at Mortgage Coach, welcome to our Friday Mastermind call. I have to tell you that I am super excited for our conversation today. And before I bring him in, our special guest, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't give one final plug for the Modern Mortgage Summit. I know that so many of you have signed up. We've got over 9,000 people who will be joining us live on next Tuesday, 10/20/2020. Just head over to modernmortgagesummit.com. You'll check it out there. I don't want to spend any more time talking about that because I'm just really excited to have, I guess, what's the best way to put it? I said it yesterday in my Facebook post. We all have somebody who we think of when someone tells a story about the person in their life who's had, really a tremendous amount of impact, potentially the most impact of just about anyone, outside of, maybe parents and some family members. The person who has mentored you, coached you, guided you, through ups and downs of life and really inspired you. And for me, that person is Daniel Harkavy. And Daniel, for those of you who don't know who he is the CEO and founder of Building Champions, and someone I've known now for, a little over a decade, probably about 12 years. And I'm just excited to say welcome, Daniel.
So good to be with you. And with an intro like that, you need to know you make my day, and you're a blessing to me, you and your family, and to have been able to journey with you and to watch you grow over the years and to see who you are. There's nothing more rewarding. So it's just great to be with you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think a lot of you know that back when I was an originator, my last year of originating, I closed over 550 loans, about $115 million. And people said, why at the pinnacle of your career would you step away? And it was to actually go to work for Daniel and his organization and be a coach there, which I did for a few years. And it was just truly a gift for me. And so oftentimes, we call this leading with confidence and courage in uncertain times. And I think that there's no doubt that these are, probably the most uncertain times we've seen. But I'd love to set the stage before we go that direction, because I think we've got people on this call who don't view themselves as leaders. They call themselves just a loan officer, whether they're new or not. And I'd love for you to sort of address those folks as well as talk about your background, because you and Building Champions were birthed out of the mortgage banking industry.
You bet. So, yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I always want to make sure that when people are going to be investing their most precious resource, which is their time, they know who they're listening to, right? We don't want to waste anybody's time. And so if you don't know who I am, I started in mortgage banking as an originator in 1985 in Southern California, and I loved it. I did really well. 20 years old. 21, I was rookie of the year. There were 105 originators, and I finished up at the end of my first year as number 2. And a lot of FHA, VA loans, a lot of co-borrowers. Yo hablo español, so yo hace mucho préstamos en español. So I was doing them in Spanish and in English. And, truthfully, every one loan I did was really like 4 loans because I had so many co-borrowers. We had average loan amounts back then of like $80,000. And when I first started in the business, interest rates were in the teens. And so I went through a refi wave. I had no database. So I just focused on real estate agents, and that launched me. So by the time I was 23, I was given the opportunity to lead, and I became branch manager and vice president. And I had a team of like 2, and the end of 24 hours in that post, I had a team of just 1. It was myself and my processor. It was still a team of 2, but my one originator, he left. So I had to build the branch from the ground up. And some of you know my story. If you read Becoming a Coaching Leader, which I wrote probably 14 years ago or so, my whole strategy was to find really hungry, humble, talented, ethical originators who worked in markets around me, and then to figure out how to help them to succeed. And that's what I did. So really, my career took off when I became a branch manager. because I went from that little team of myself and Lourdes Lopez out of Covina. We turned that one branch into quite the powerhouse. And by the time I left my post as branch manager and moved into head of production, that one office was always the number one office. We had a few hundred originators in the company. 6 of the top 10 were on my team, and we did a lot of volume. We were doing 135 million back with average loan amounts of $85,000 back in the late 80s and early 90s. So I know 4155, and I could still probably package a loan, although I wouldn't be able to use the technology all you folks use. But yeah, I know the loan biz. So I launched Building Champions in 1996 after taking a 1-year sabbatical. So I was 30 years old and I quit, and I knew I wanted to do something different. And I took a 1-year kind of break and moved my family from Southern California up here to Oregon. And I launched a coaching company, Building Champions, where our first vertical, our first clientele were all mortgage bankers. And I met a lot of you who are probably with me right now. And Todd, I met a lot of you at a lot of Todd Duncan events, and we've coached thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people in the mortgage banking business over the last 25 years. So I think I answered your question.
I think you crushed the question. I think one of the things that Daniel won't probably say is he's probably coached a lot of your bosses. He's definitely influenced some of the greatest leaders in the mortgage industry. He's too humble to tell you that. And I always just want to set the table that way, because I want you guys to understand, I said it in my post, you are all leaders, right? If it's just you and a processor like it was when Daniel lost his other loan officer, I forgot that part of the story. And so, kind of talk about it. I mean, what's your perspective right now as you're guiding people through, what is probably the most interesting and most crazy time of any of our lives that we could have ever expected?
Yeah. So I look at what we're all facing, and I look at your industry. And, your industry is one that has experienced immense tailwinds in the midst of a pandemic. So you've got momentum. And for those of you who are newer in the business, you're coming in at a time where there is uncertainty as we look forward. And that can create some emotions that won't be your friend unless they're tamed. But whether you lead yourself or whether you lead a team or teams, there are some frameworks that can help you to think really well so that you can organize your thoughts and then your disciplines in a way that will enable you to be successful regardless of what comes your way. So, originators, no matter what, no matter what's happening in the environment, your pursuit of being the best in the business from a knowledge perspective and from a customer service perspective will always serve you well. You need to have the knowledge of an underwriter, and you need to have the influence of the best of the best. And if you have the knowledge of an underwriter and your desire is to serve and to create success for those that you partner with, no matter what, you're going to do really well. So you're on this call right now because you're wanting to sharpen the saw. You're wanting to elevate your game. And I would tell you that an hour to 2 hours a day when you're new will be a discipline that will help you. Now, there's some who are with us today who are really seasoned. And, at Building Champions, we say you need to have on time, which is when you're working on yourself, you're making yourself better. You're studying, you're learning how to better use the tools that Todd and Dave bring to you so that you can continue to elevate your game. You're going to join them next week at their event because you want to continue to grow. And I've seen some of the folks, Todd, that you guys are having present. You're bringing together the best of the best, and people need to be plugged in. Not to have 9,000 there is amazing. But I'm going to go ahead, and this is what I get to do. I'm just going to call it the way I see it. You have 9,000 that are signed up. And now I'm talking to all of you. How many of you will show up from beginning to end with your pen and your paper and taking notes and figuring out what is it that you can learn. Todd Bookspan, the guy sitting right here across the screen from me, I remember Todd being a front row guy. Every event that I ever spoke at, Todd was always sitting front row. Todd always had pen and paper out, whether he was in the Master's Coach, at Sales Mastery, at the Experience. Todd was always there with this, like, all in, as our friend Bill Hart says, all in, taking notes and studying. And I'm going to challenge every one of you. You need to digest everything that Todd and Dave are going to be bringing your way next week so that you can elevate your game. So I think my first big point is, whether you're an originator or whether you're a seasoned, leader, right now in the midst of uncertainty, as we look at the momentum you have with the refinances and the very low rates, and we don't know what's going to happen with the elections, we don't know what happens to the real estate market in 2021. The one thing you want to be committed to is making sure you continue to elevate your skills, because regardless of what comes your way economically, the best will always find opportunity. That would be point number one, a long point number one.
I love that. I'm writing it down. The best will always find opportunity. That's huge, and that's so true. That is so true. And I just love it. I mean, just the word perspective, the word influence. I mean, I love the things that you say, and I want you all to be taking notes and take note of that. So I think that's a perfect first point. So where would you lead us from here?
Yeah, I think that what you want to do as well is your next thing to focus on is that you have a really clear vision for your business. And this is incredibly important in the midst of uncertainty. You have to have a vision that has magnetic pull power. And I can remember when I was in my 20s, looking at the mortgage banking business and knowing where I wanted to go. I had a destination point, a goal, a target. I knew what it would be like to get there. And in my 20s, I found my path there. I got there. The best of the best, they set that vision and they put it in writing and they review it regularly, because I want you to think about what happens to the brain in the midst of uncertainty. When you look at 2020, we've had fear of health, COVID. If any of you followed my Leading in Difficult Times videos back in March, April, I did one around my 3 fears: fear of health, what's going to happen to us from COVID, or what's going to happen to us, my bigger fear, as a result of the shutdown, and how's that going to hurt our health, our emotional health, our relational health, all of the unintended consequences when we lose freedom, when we lose community, when we lose routine. I was concerned about the overall health of humanity. That was fear number one. Number two was the fear of economic pain, money loss. You shut the world down, you're going to see countries fall into challenge. You're going to see large macro organizations fall into challenge. You're going to see mid-sized businesses, small businesses, and then you're going to see minimum wage folks. It's going to cascade all the way down. And not only that, I'm concerned about my kids and my grandkids, because what kind of debt are we going to shackle them with? Those two fears led me to my third fear, which was my greatest fear. And that is, as a result of those first two, how are we as humans going to change in relationship? How will we view one another? Todd, you and I have both lived the same way. And that is, we know we've had a good day when we've loved on other people. We know we've had a good day when we've been used to flip switches up on the hearts of other people. So we see people as who they can become. We strive to see the goodness in them. And we're doing everything we can all day, every day, to figure out how to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Well, when you operate with those two fears, health and money, it can change how we see each other. All right, 2020, health, George Floyd, and that brutal experience that we all faced, that we saw, and that is proving to open our eyes as we look where we're at and where we need to go. But it was brutal to watch. And I live just outside of Portland, Oregon. So you guys see this snippet of news every day about, chaos here in Portland in a few blocks. And now we're headed into an election where we're being ripped in half, polarized, opposed. It's brutal, right? Okay, why am I sharing this? If all of this starts to take root in us, the effect on our limbic system, on our thinking, on our feeling, on our relationships, on our activities, on our creativity, it's all negative. Fear, apathy, hopelessness, anxiety, none of that serves us well. Why do you need to have a vision in writing? You need to believe that there's going to be a better tomorrow. When I was in my 20s, I looked at mortgage banking with a 10-year perspective. There are going to be 3 amazing years, 2020 for your income, amazing for most of you with refis. There are going to be 3 brutal years where hopefully you've saved money in those great years to help you during those 3 more brutal years. And then you're going to have 4 normal years where you got refis, you have purchases, and you're just out there doing your stuff. If you have a vision that has magnetic pull power, what it does is it helps you to build strategy and improvement today to move you forward, so that regardless of what's happening from a health perspective, an economic perspective, a legislative perspective, you're taking control of how to move your business forward. Whether you're an originator or whether you lead a team of 1,000, you need to have a vision that impacts your strategy, that impacts your behaviors, so that you can move forward. Whether you're in mortgage banking or whether you're in healthcare or pharma, I don't care. It's a leadership truth, but it's very relevant for originators because really you have so much freedom. You know, you don't have the structure, but that vision will help you to set structure because you'll build disciplines and plans to make tomorrow look more like your vision does than you're experiencing today. That's point number 2.
I love it. We're getting so many positive comments here, right? Someone says definitely so much polarization and self-focus as a result of this year. Hope that we will now begin to focus on the similarities rather than differences. I think it's just, I don't know. Again, you guys have to understand that I'm just always in awe when I get to hear Daniel talk, and I miss it. The weekly inspiration I would get when Daniel was my leader having our weekly meetings. And I think the things that I want to remind you guys of that he just pointed out is it's someone who's been in mortgage banking now for, a few decades, and just pointed out the fact that we're going to have good years and bad years, and to save your money and to be prepared for it. He mentioned he didn't have a database, right? We talk about that all the time, right? Building your database. And so there's so many great nuggets in there. So make sure that you guys are digging those nuggets out. So, all right, Daniel, I'm gonna let you keep rolling because you're just keeping us all excited here.
Well, good. Let's see, as I'm looking at 2020, transitioning into 2021 for a group of guys and gals that really do provide an amazing function in the communities in which you serve. You facilitate the American dream, you make it possible. And right now you're facilitating some real economic stewardship by helping people to save money monthly and annually with refining or pull cash out and to do things with it as they need. There's psychic income in doing that. And in 2020, when many of you are making more money than maybe you've ever made, what you need to be very aware of is that there's a chance you're neglecting things that are truly going to bring you fulfillment, joy, and happiness in your later years in life. So when I started building champions, one of the core elements that I incorporated into our coaching process was life planning. And the reason that I did that was because I was in my 20s and I was looking at guys and gals who were in their 50s, and they were driving Ferraris and Porsches and beautiful Mercedes Benz. And when I got to know who they were, individuals, men and women that had been in the business for a decade or 2 or 3, what I heard were stories of real regret and pain. I heard about second marriages and third marriages. I observed adultery in some of their lives, addiction, saw that front and center. And what I realized when I was in my 20s was, if I am not keenly aware of how others who have gone before me are turning out, if I'm not keenly aware of the price that they've paid, there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to replicate that in my own life. And I'm a guy who's been married to my beautiful wife for 32 years. We've been in each other's lives for 45 years. And we have 4 children and 1 granddaughter, and another one on the way. And, when I'm done with you, Todd, I'm meeting my sons and going camping and mountain biking for a couple days out in the Hood River area. I share all of that.
Of course you are.
Yeah, that's good. I share all of that because when there is no limit to what you can make, when there are no boundaries on the hours that you can work, the allure of the next deal and the next commission check, it's strong. And I'm not a guy who says, don't make money. I'm not. I say, make money. But please understand that if you aren't really clear on how to build net worth and wealth in all areas of your life, you're at risk of putting all of your energy into making money, into your career and into possessions, and then waking up one day later in life with regrets. And I know right now some of you are saying, Harkavy, you're speaking to me. I'm there right now. I know. I'm helping a few couples right now to hopefully fend off divorce. 2020 has been a butt kicker. So when you look at my 3 fears and what's taken place in 2020, then you pile on top of it that now you guys are having to work from home and having to sell way differently than you had to, 8 months ago. And you look at the sheer volume, capacity constraints, demand, opportunity, there's a good chance that your health is suffering, your spiritual accounts suffering. There's a good chance that your marital accounts are suffering. There's a good chance that maybe your parenting accounts, friendship, other areas. And I would just tell you, if I'm coaching you, I would tell you to build your life plan in the 4th quarter for 2021. I would really encourage you to do that. And it will help you, to have that plan that you can look at as a map so that you begin filling your days with more of the things that will bring you that long-term satisfaction, that reward. You want to have that operating plan, that life plan in place, just like you have your business plan. If you do, then you can turn 2021 into an even better year than 2020 because you're building net worth in areas of your life alongside of your career. And that's really important when you continue to move forward. And Todd, we'll give everybody that life planning tool. For those of you who know or don't know, I've written a couple books, and one of them is called Living Forward. This is all about building a plan for your life. We'll give you the tool from it. I would encourage you to do that. So that's point number 3, Todd.
All right. So where do we get the tool? Is there a buildingchampions.com/something?
Yeah. Why don't you guys just send an email to info@buildingchampions.com and just put in there life plan tool, and my team will get that to you.
Yeah. It's interesting. I always say that was what took me, certainly there's the business side of what I got from you and Bill Hart, who was my coach for my first 4 years, when I was a client of Building Champions. And I said it took me, more importantly, I became a better human because of it. And it was absolutely because of writing a life plan and keeping it close by and reviewing it, and really making sure that I knew what those accounts were and staying focused on it. And I do agree that as we've come through such a tough time, right, a butt kicker year, like you said, that it's just really critical that we focus in those areas for sure. So I love that you guys are putting out that resource to our community. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. You've heard me say this, Todd, for years. I believe better humans make for better leaders. So that's why the life planning piece, that self-leadership always precedes team effectiveness. Team effectiveness always precedes organizational impact. It always does. So when you look at organizations, when you look at some of the largest organizations, and they've been around for a good long time, and then you sit down and you have a meal with their CEO, every single time when the organizations have the culture, when they get the results, they have the reputation, they're the best of the best. Every single time you spend time with one of those CEOs, you come away saying, she is a great human. He's just a great guy. Like, I'd love to just hang out and go camping with this guy. He's amazing. So good humans, they make for great leaders. You can't, over the long haul, be a self-centered, non-empathetic, not caring, way out of whack leader, and over the long haul get the results and make the difference in the community, in the world that we would all hope to make. So how you lead yourself, it's everything. It's everything. I was just on the phone with the CEO of a very large multi-billion-dollar household name organization. Right before this, I ended it 15 minutes before I jumped on with you. Spent time with this guy, and they've been clients of ours for more than a decade. And huge organization, known for being the best of the best in their industry, not in mortgage banking. And he is one where we just talk about self-leadership. How are you leading yourself? Others on the team, where are we out of balance? Where do we need to be pouring in? Where do you have concerns about people redlining? Where do you have concerns about people who are not caring for themselves? The best of the best leaders are thinking about that. And they're making sure they're having conversations around the well-being of those that they lead. So there you go. Roberta Pulse will get you your life planning tool.
There you go. info@buildingchampions.com. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't actually talk about your new book, The 7 Perspectives of Effective Leaders. And, you know, I love it because I was in the room as you unpacked these perspectives over the years, and to see the book now come to fruition. The first day you posted, it was available on Amazon. You know, I made the order, and I know it'll be showing up on my doorstep on Tuesday in Phoenix, although I'll be in Atlanta. But I can't wait to read it. That's for sure. So, can you give us a little insight into the book and what's going on there?
Yeah, so you're going to get 2 copies because I signed one and I sent it to you yesterday, you and Dave. So yes, the book releases on Tuesday, the 20th, and it's called The 7 Perspectives of Effective Leaders. And it's a book that I'm super excited about because this is a model I've been using in organizations for the last 6 years. When you think about leadership and the topic of leadership, it's so vast and it's so huge. Is leadership strategy? Yes. Is leadership governance? Yes. Is it succession planning? Yes. Coaching and development? Yes. Is it planning and accountability and vision and inspiration and management? Yes, 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 yes. It's everything, right? And there are so many books out there on leadership. So I always try to make things really simple because I believe what's simple is then understood, and what's understood can then be executed on, and what gets executed on then delivers results. So everything that I try to do, I just want to make it super simple. It might be due to the fact that I barely made it through high school, and that's the level I live at. But I like simple. And you know, if you can fit it on one page, there's beauty to it. All right. So we've been using this model in businesses for years. And this is what I'll tell you. And I believe it. And I've had conversations with many of our clients, leaders everywhere. A leader's effectiveness is determined by just 2 things: the decisions they make and the influence they have. A leader's effectiveness is determined by just 2 things, only two, the decisions they make and the influence they have. I was in a conversation with one of the founders of the Ritz-Carlton hotels. He's in the book, Horst Schulze, and he was saying, you know, he's got a German guy, you know, Daniel, you have to have integrity. And I said, yes, Horst, you have to have integrity. But I say that integrity and character is like the minimum threshold for leadership. So I don't need to write another book on integrity and character. You just have to have that. But I want you to understand, how do you elevate your effectiveness? If you don't have integrity or character, then you're a bad leader. If you want to be an effective leader, above and beyond that foundation of having character, above and beyond the foundation of having integrity, well, then what you want to do is you want to build decision-making muscle and you want to build influence. And what I will tell you is there are 7 different perspectives you need to see your business from in order to do that. And these 7 perspectives, Todd, you know, there used to be 5 and I wasn't ready to write the book. And then there was 6 and I wasn't ready to write the book. And when I hit the 7th, my wife will tell you, Sherry, when I said there were 5, she was like, what makes you think there's only 5? Pretty soon you're going to have 6, and then you're going to have 8, and then you'll have 21 like Maxwell. And I'm like, no, really, there's 5. And then all of a sudden I was like, shoot, there's 6. And yeah, see, I told you. And all right, I'm not going to write the book yet. I'm in the shower, and this is when there were only 6 perspectives. I'm in the shower, and I have one of those like creative in the shower moments where it's like, oh, there's 7. I stuck my head out of the shower, and I'm like, Sherry, there's 7. It's complete. I'm done. And she's like, yeah, there'll be 8. But no, there's only 7. So if you see your business from 7 perspectives, you'll make better decisions and have more influence. What, Todd? You want to know what those 7 are? I'd love to tell you.
I'm just laughing because I just remember when there was 5, and then I remember when there was 6, and I do remember the confidence you've had ever since you came up with number 7.
Oh, I was done. You look biblical times, man, the number 7's complete. You're done. You're finished. Cindy Ertman, I see your comment. I miss you too. It's good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So let's go through the 7 real quickly, because I would love for you all to buy the book. And if you're a leader, and I would say, if you're an originator and you don't have a team, this book will help you to be a more successful business person. Guarantee it. You'll make better decisions and have more influence. And all of you are in the business of making decisions and having influence. Perspective number 1 is current reality. Current reality. Current reality is really understanding the business as it is today. You understand what got you here. You understand all of the key metrics, the leading, the lagging indicators. You understand the business from a competitive landscape, economic, legislative. You get it. Earlier I said you need to be an underwriter. You need to understand the current business. You can't be the disconnected leader. So now I'm talking to CEOs, heads of production, whatever it may be. You can't be only living in vision land. You have to have both feet firmly planted and grounded in current reality. Perspective 2, vision. We just talked about that. Leaders, you're supposed to take your teammates in the business to a better tomorrow. The organization is not paying you for mediocrity or more of the same or a decline. Your people aren't going to engage head and heart with you and strive to be the best they can be if you don't see a better tomorrow. So leaders need to make the invisible visible. We have to have a clear and compelling vision. And once we do, we need to remind people, our teammates, of where we're going and how they play a key role in taking us from here to there. Now, when you have those 2 perspectives, what you have is you have a gap. Current reality, here we are in October 2020, long-term vision, where we're going to be in 2030. That gap are those 2 waypoints on your GPS. Starting point, grounded in current reality. We anchor to that destination, vision, and then we create strategic bets, perspective 3, that move us from current reality to that vision. Strategic bets are huge. 75% of all strategies that organizations deploy fail because they're not grounded in current reality or anchored in vision. They're more reactive based upon what the competition's doing, a new shiny opportunity. They fail. They're not adequately resourced because they didn't really understand what was going to be required in order for them to move forward in executing that strategy. Strategic bets, not guarantees. They don't all pay off. But if they're grounded in current reality and anchored in long-term vision, you have them adequately resourced, you've got a leader, you've got gates and milestones that you're going to measure progress through so that you can fail and reevaluate in, then you move forward. Strategic bets. All right. Perspective 4, the perspective of the team. In 2020, this one's been hard. How do you move through the organization to find out what the team thinks, how they're doing, how they're feeling? Hey, leaders, our job is to help our teammates to succeed. We serve them. We need to make sure they're adequately resourced. They see the business from the front lines. Hey, teammates, what are you seeing? What do we need to be doing? What do you think about our strategic bets? How do you see your role connected to that vision? What do you need to be more in order to be more effective in current reality? The best leaders are disciplined with one-on-ones with their people, not just direct reports. They move through the organization to understand how their teammates are doing, what they're thinking, what they need. Then you're engaging head and heart. Now you think about this. If if leadership effectiveness is all about decisions and influence, you've got to have your people, your team's input in order to have influence, because if they don't have a voice, well, they're not going to buy in. The best of the best leaders have one-on-ones. And years ago, I wrote a book called Becoming a Coaching Leader, which is all about the power of the one-on-one. One-on-ones with the discipline will help you to best understand your teammates' perspective. Perspective 5, the perspective of the customer. If we miss this, then we build strategic bets that will often fail. Oftentimes, leaders get so enamored with how good they are, how good their technology is, how good their service is, how good their team is. They forget to sit down with their customers and say, hey, what's it like to do business with us? How are you doing? What do you need in order to finish the year really well? Where do you see your business going next year? What do we need to change in order to better serve you and help you to succeed? Perspective 5 is you not just trusting surveys, it's actually you sitting down with the best of the best. Quick story. Martin Daum, who you know, Todd, he's the chairman of Daimler. He's the chairman of Daimler, which is Mercedes-Benz, of their entire truck business. So many of you know Mercedes-Benz, and you know Mercedes-Benz has some of the most beautiful passenger cars. They also have the most efficient, best trucks, buses, RV chassis, everything. They're huge. And we've coached their organization for years. Martin Daum, as the chairman, devotes a very large percentage of his time sitting down with the dealers and the drivers of the organizations that sell their products and those that actually use it to find out what it's like. Spends time face to face. You know, you think about Dan Cathy or Tim Tassopoulos over at Chick-Fil-A, their entire executive team. They spend time in restaurants talking to customers to find out what's the experience like. You know, I think I've shared this story with you. Dan Cathy went to the car show a few years ago. Dan's now the CEO of Chick-fil-A, but he went to the car show years ago. Why would a Chick-fil-A CEO go to a car show? Not because he loves cars, although his dad had an amazing car collection, the founder of Chick-fil-A. He went because he wanted to understand what kind of interiors these cars were going to have, because so much of their business was drive-through. So he wanted to make sure that he was thinking about the drive-through experience as the user, the people driving through, the mom or the dad with kids in the car. He wanted to see it because he was thinking about, what do we need to change from a delivery perspective to better serve our customers? All right. Some of you need to be having those candid, truthful conversations with your customers to find out truly what you can be doing to improve. What would add more value to them? 6th perspective is your role. Do you really see who you need to become in order to be the leader that the businesses are going to require in long-term vision? You need to continue to have the disciplines that enabled you to get to where you are now, but you need to add new disciplines, new improvements to your role so that you can be the leader the business will need you to be in the years ahead. That 6th perspective, your role in 2020 has been radically impacted because we're doing business now differently. The percentage of communication we now have this way, Todd, Zoom versus phone call, like, what is this thing, the phone? We're not going to use it like we used to. So much of business is going to be done like this. I think many of you know what's happening to the airlines. Delta just reported their third quarter results, and their business is off 75%. 75%. Frank Blake, the chairman of Delta, Cindy Ertman's on the screen. Hi, Cindy. The chairman of Delta, he's sitting there having to really reinvent how their future looks, because so much of business is going to be done this way. So how does this impact our role? Our role is going to change, and we need to make sure we're really clear on the rhythms and the disciplines that will enable us to move forward. The 7th perspective, and I'm done, is the perspective of the outsider. Who is that you've got on your team that's your thinking partner? they're helping you to make sense of those first 6 perspectives. They're helping you to process it all. They're challenging you. They're instilling more belief in you, more encouragement, more accountability. They're helping you to make sense of it all. Why? So that you make better decisions and have more influence. If you're intentionally curious, 2 words I would have you write down. If you're intentionally curious and you're disciplined as you look at your week and you make sure your calendar has time for each of these 7 perspectives, you're going to make better decisions and you're going to lead more effectively. So that's the overall structure of the framework. We're using it in businesses and I've put it to book form. And the really cool thing about it is in this book, I've got countless leaders, whether it be Frank Blake, chairman of Delta, Martin Dahm, global, chairman of Daimler, Tim Tassopoulos, president of Chick-Fil-A. There's all sorts, Eileen Frack, there's all sorts of leaders. Our military, they're all in there sharing their stories around the 7 perspectives. And that's why I've actually enjoyed reading the book so many times, which you have to do when you write one. I love reading their stories. So there you go, sir.
All right. So I love it. So if you guys go to 7perspectives.com, the number 7perspectives.com, you can order the book. And then you guys have, if you put in your receipt, they get a bunch of free cool stuff, right?
Yeah. So here you go. The book releases Tuesday. So we're doing this pre-release launch. And right now on the website, you can watch the video. It explains a little bit more. I will tell you folks, you can buy the book anywhere, but you need to know this. The publisher's Baker Bookhouse. So right here, Baker Bookhouse is selling the book for 40% off. So it's a $26 book. You get 40% off if you buy through Baker, and they report. So if I'm you, I would buy there today. You get the study guide, which I'm excited about. I did a final review on that just this week. The crisis ebook, which our CEO mentors and I wrote back in April. The team retreat guide, Todd, this one I'm super excited about. I did a team retreat for an organization in Japan at the end of last year, where we walked through each of the 7 perspectives. And we've built the retreat guide around that. So you can do a half day, a full day, and a day and a half. And this gives you agendas for all. The interview series is a great one for you to watch because it is me interviewing contributors to the book, like Patrick Lencioni, Frank Blake, Carol Stern. She's the executive director for the Walton Family Foundation, which is, Walmart, their family. They've got a buck or two, and she's in charge of making sure that money gets invested well. She was the CEO of UNICEF when I first met her. So Horst Schulze's in there. He started Ritz-Carlton hotels. Really fun in the interview series, and that's like this. You get to watch those. And then the quick start audio. That's for those of you who don't have the attention span to read a whole 181 pages, and I, like in 30 minutes, just tell you how to go do it. So pick your poison. I just recorded the book as well, and for Audible, and that'll be out next week. So go to the website, get the book, write a review. Let me know what you think about it. If you dig it, share it. There, I'm done selling.
All right, so Audible's next week because I saw you with our good buddy Scotty Higby that you recorded it, and I was like, I cannot wait to listen to that because there's nothing better than reading it, but actually it's going to be a lot better hearing it again in your voice.
Well, thank you. For those of you who don't know, Scott Higby owns Studio C Creative, and it's a recording studio in San Diego. And I was 30 years old. Todd Duncan believed in me and gave me a shot. That's a whole nother beautiful story. But I went into Scott's recording studio because that's who Duncan used. And I recorded This Is Building Champions. What is coaching? And it was for the mortgage industry. And it was a cassette tape. And Scott couldn't find this cassette tape, but he found the CD because he had digitized it, put it on a CD. Scott was there before I launched the company. And he has been at every experience, every master's coach, 20 years as a master's coach. Every 90 days, Scott Higby back in the room playing music and recording it. Also, when I had the opportunity to do the Audible, my wife Sherry was the one who said, well, why wouldn't you just go down to San Diego and do it with Scott instead of some stranger here in Portland? Yes, I get to go down and see my family and surf as well. So it was a win-win-win. Scotty was awesome.
Oh, that's I just love it. Yeah, I have to imagine. I think that Scott's been in the back room at least 50 different events that I've was able to partake in, and I think it's one of those things I hope people take away, right? The fact that you talk about the passion in your life with your family, with Sherry, and your passion for surfing and hanging out with your your brother Greg, who I know was on here earlier this year. That's a great interview. If you haven't listened to it, look for Greg Harkavy, again, another one of my coaches and mentors. And I think that's I'm hoping that's what you see in Daniel and what he does. That's why you've got coaches like Bill Hart, who've been there for, he's been there for 20 years now, almost.
Yeah, Bill's coming up on 20 years. He's such a gift.
Yeah.
I love how that guy keeps growing. Gosh darn. That's something everybody, you guys, my assumption is that most of you are younger than I am. And I tell you, when I look at Bill's older than I am. He's a decade ahead of me. And I love to surround myself with guys and gals who are 10 to 20 years older than I am. Those who have the appetite to continue to learn and the passion to continue to give it away, oh, that energy is so good for me. And Bill Hart's that for me. I tell you, Bill, every time I talk to Bill, 90% of the time I'm smiling and laughing, and maybe 10% of the time I'm crying because we're going through something difficult in somebody's life that we love. Bill's he's an inspiration. So. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. And so, I know we're out here to have a plug fest, so I'm glad that we talked about the book. You guys can email info@buildingchampions for the life planning tool. I would encourage you, as someone who, I was just really lucky. I fell in my second year in the business into coaching and with Building Champions, and would certainly encourage you guys to reach out there as well. You guys have seen Greg Harkavy, I mentioned. You've seen Bill Hart on here this year. You've seen Michael Regan, just a few of the folks that do a lot of coaching in the space. So I definitely want to throw that in there as well. You mentioned leading teams right now. And so I think that maybe that's something that would be great for originators. I know, you have led for years. You did your in-person Monday morning meeting in the office, and then the remote coaches all zoomed in. I know that's changed for the pandemic, and you guys have changed your cadence. What does that look like now?
So we still do every single Monday morning, and we do it the way we did it back prior to pandemic. The only difference being that the Lake Oswego, the Oregon crew, does it from home offices. So, what happened was when the pandemic first hit, we increased our frequency. We had a weekly meeting with the entire team, which was Monday mornings at 7:30, where we talked about vision. We talked about stuff you needed to know for the week ahead. And then we lifted up the real needs and concerns of ourselves, our teammates, our customers, our friends, et cetera. And we still do that. We've been doing that for 25 years. And then we would have a leadership team meeting, a strategy team meeting every Monday afternoon. And then once the pandemic hit, we went to daily. Like every day we were having lead team meetings. And then we started to realize, you couldn't see, things were changing so quickly. So that's in that 7 Perspectives crisis ebook we did. We talked about the cadence in order to really understand current reality, because current reality shifted so radically for every business in March. Once you could begin seeing how this thing was moving, we went to 2 meetings a week. So we went from 1 to 5, 5 to 2. And now we're back to 1 with an optional 2 if we need it. And that's for the leadership team. One-on-ones are still happening with the same intentionality. One-on-ones are the key to developing leadership capacity. One-on-ones are the key to building leadership capacity. Don't miss that. You don't build leadership capacity without one-on-ones. You can look at some of the most iconic leaders, a guy like Jack Welch, GE. Jack Welch at the World Business Forum, I don't know, probably 15 years ago, I had the opportunity to spend some time with him. And Jack told the audience, he said, the leaders that have failed are those that stop building leadership capacity. And then he started to mention some of them. And he's like, if you make that one of your highest priorities, you're always spending time building the capacity of your teammates, you're building the capacity for the future. So, yeah.
What's someone who struggles with a one-on-one meeting, what would you suggest are, just a couple of questions to ask in order to have an effective one-on-one meeting?
So we just released an e-course where I've got 4 hours and 16 minutes worth of video and audio walking you through the book, Becoming a Coaching Leader, which is, becoming a coaching leader. I wrote it. I probably started in 2004. It released right before the economic meltdown of 2007, 2008. And I wrote that as really a handbook for one-on-ones. And it was the result of what I did back as a branch manager, how I launched Building Champions. And I really believed that if managers would do everything that I wrote about in Becoming a Coaching Leader, it would put Building Champions out of business. Well, that strategy, the tactics in it, are as relevant and as effective today as they were back then. So we released the e-course. In the e-course, I walk you through all of the elements of becoming a coaching leader. To answer your question, there are 4 conversations that you want to have with your people in your one-on-ones. The first one is well-being. How are you doing? How are you doing? And today, in 2020, when you have moms and dads that have professional responsibilities, that have educating their kids responsibilities, that are stepping on one another in the confines of their 1,800 square foot home, when they have so much coming at them and they don't feel like they can win. And then they don't know, should they wear the mask that covers their face, or should they wear the big plexiglass mask, or no mask? Can they go here? Can they go there? When you've got all of this going on, leaders, you need to check in on your people and just say, how the heck are you doing? How can I help you? Do you need a second monitor? Do you need some help with grocery services? Like, what do you need? The best leaders go beyond, what somebody needs to succeed in their role. They're asking them, what do you need to succeed in your life? Like, your career is only one aspect of who you are. The best leaders care for their people. So they're talking about their well-being. And in well-being, they're talking about their professional well-being as well. What do you need in order to do your job well? Well-being. Are you winning? Number 1. Number 2, vision. You're always talking to your teammates about their role and how it connects to the bigger picture. If we don't have that conversation, it's super easy for our people to get stuck in a 1003, to get stuck in the system, to get stuck in reports, and all they see is their screens. And they forget that the role that they're playing is really required in order for the organization to become who it's going to become. So you're talking to your people about the role they play in the business today as well as in the business tomorrow, vision. And you're wanting to find out if they see it. What are they excited about? What's their vision for their career? You're wanting to talk to them about their hopes for a better tomorrow. 3 is about focus. You want to make sure that they're focused on the right things. That's where the one-page plan comes into place. One-page plan quarterly, another tool that I'll give to you guys all for free. info@buildingchampions.com. Get the one-page simple business plan. It's now called a focus plan because we have life disciplines and business disciplines as a result of us now working in home offices, and it's all coming together. But focus. What are you focused on in the weeks ahead and the quarter ahead? Now, if I, as a leader, know what my teammates think are most important, now I can make sure that we're aligned. Because if I think that play 46 is most important, but they think play 23 is most important, well, we have a problem. And at some point, we're going to have a major disappointment. But if I have their focus, what they're focused on, then I can help them. So the one-page plan is the tool that I use for that. The 4th conversation is around execution. And that is, do you have what you need in order to execute on the plan? And that's where I'm there, just a resource to serve, to encourage them so that they can execute and win in their roles. If I'm having those 4 conversations with my teammates in their one-on-ones, and I'm following up on how they did, I'm following up on what they committed to, I'm really clear on, for some, what their life plan calls for, what their vision is, I'm clear on their business plan. Well, now my job is to come alongside and help them to win. So those are 4 conversations all of you can have right now with your teammates, and they will make for more meaningful conversations. But let me give you 2 quick tips. Write down everything that you're hearing. Stay focused. Don't be distracted when you're in a one-on-one and you're sitting here looking at your Facebook status or, you're answering email. That'll actually do more harm than good. So that's number 1. If you're going to get into a one-on-one, it's eye to eye, ear to ear. If you want to have a better marriage, it's eye to eye, ear to ear. You want to be a better parent, it's eye to eye, ear to ear. You're not sitting here being distracted by this thing, which happens to be a great relationship destroyer. That's one tip. The second tip is in your one-on-ones, when your people are committing to doing something or they have a big event that's coming up, always follow up. Always follow up. Use delay delivery and email to follow up. Write in your calendar to follow up. The more that you follow up to encourage or to check in, the better the relationship's going to be, the higher the level of engagement's going to be, and the better your teammates are going to perform because they think better and feel better as a result of the care they have between you and them. And remember, people don't leave businesses, they leave leaders. You can look at all the research that's been done. It's the relationship the teammate has with the manager that causes them to either be winning and fulfilled or losing and out of there.
That is so, so true. Well, I think that was a great way. I could, if you had 3 hours more, Daniel, I would take it all and continue this conversation for everyone who has joined us. And so I want to encourage all of you to follow Daniel, connect with Daniel, buy the book. Everyone always asks me on my bookshelf about my books. So you can see Daniel's books are up here, and I have I don't want to brag or anything, but I have Becoming a Coaching Leader up there that's autographed, and I also have Living Forward up there that's autographed. So I don't
know if it makes it worth anything, buddy. Like, I don't know if...
Well, I also have the dog-eared version that I read and has all my notes in it as well. So there's actually, if you look closely, there's 2 of each. There's actually 3 of Living Forward, because I think I've got the original, like that paperback thing you gave us at Masters Coach as well. That wasn't a real like the original previous book. So any parting words that you want to give the crew as we kind of boot them off here and they've got to finish out 2020 and get launched into 2021?
Yeah, I would just, thank you. I look at the opportunity to be here with you, Todd, and Dave, and serving the industry that I learned everything in. I got into this business at the age 20, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to work in so many businesses and do what I get to do if it wasn't for the mortgage banking industry. And today, when you look at my clients, because I still coach, I coach 5 leaders. I still coach 2 people in the mortgage banking space, and I will always stay true to the business that has so taught me and helped me. It's been good to me. I don't think I have anything to add, Todd. I think I've shared what I need to share. So thank you, Dave. Thank you, Robert, for coordinating behind the scenes and making sure all the technology is working, buddy.
Well, Daniel, from the bottom of my heart, my friend, my brother, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank all of you in our mortgage coach community for taking the time to learn from my friend and mentor, but friend first and foremost, Daniel Harkavy. Definitely check out info@buildingchampions.com. Reach out to them for their tools. Buy the book, 7 Perspectives of Effective Leaders. Go to 7perspectives.com. On behalf of myself and my team at Win by Noon and Dave and the Mortgage Coach team, thanks. It's a wrap, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
So I told Dave that, he was going to host, and I love you. I love having you host. I'm not going to go wrong with either of you, but I just asked him, were you going to do the Dave Savage thing? Like, is that how we sign off?
I try to, but I'm just never quite as good as he is. Like, he's just got it down.
Yeah, he backs up.
But that's probably good, especially because I think we're still rolling on Facebook, so they're catching it. So appreciate you guys on Facebook for hanging out. That was probably the best part of the call, I'd have to say, Daniel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, brother, and I can't wait till the next time we get to connect.
Thanks, pal. Say hi to Tara. Enjoy your travels, buddy, and good luck next week. Right. I know you're going to impact many.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend.
See ya. Bye-bye.